Week 17 of the fantasy baseball season, and with the trade deadline approaching in the next couple days here for fantasy baseball owners, here's a few pitchers I look to sell and trade away this week. The first guy, Blake Snell of the San Diego Padres. So Snell, it's been a pretty decent year for him, even though not a lot under his belt, only 72 and 2/3 after missing earlier in the season with injury. 4-6 record, 61 hits, 32 earned runs, 36 walks, 95 Ks, and 5 quality starts. But the last few weeks here for Snell, 17 and 2/3, 2-0 record, 14 hits, 3 runs, 3 walks, 24 Ks, 2 quality starts, a 1.53 ERA in the time, and an 0.96 whip. But on the season, the ERA is still pretty decent at 3.96 with a 1.33 whip. But right here, he's still not a guy going that deep into games. He goes 6 innings at max here as Blake Snell when he plays in a tough division. And believe it or not, this San Diego Padre team, I know it's very early. I know this team still has to find chemistry and click. They've been struggling since trading for Juan Soto, Josh Bell, and Brandon Drury at the trade deadline last week. So the last few games here for Snell, July 29th versus Minnesota, 6 innings, got the win, 4 hits, a run, a walk, 7 Ks, a quality start. August 3rd versus the Rockies, 6 innings, got the win, 4 hits, a run, 9 Ks, a quality start. And August 8th versus the Giants, 5 2/3, got the loss, 6 hits, a run, 2 walks. So right here, I don't think Snell is as good as he was, obviously, in his Tampa Bay Ray days. But right here, he's still a pitcher that could be decent. But right now, I just don't buy him going out there and being a valuable option each and every outing here, where I think he's a mediocre player. So right now, if you could get a good bat in a deal here for Blake Snell, or even him for another starting pitcher that you think has more upside, this would be the time to do it while he's been pitching good baseball over the last 3 weeks of the season here. I definitely would do it. The next guy, Carrasco of the New York Mets. So this Met team, they've been on fire of late, and they're really pulling away now in the NL East here. But I just feel like a lot of these guys are still playing over their head and overachieving as well. So right here on the season for Carrasco, 124 and a third, 13 and 4 record, 127 hits, 52 earned runs, 32 walks, 123 strikeouts, 9 quality starts, a 3.76 ERA, and a 1.28 whip. So right here, he's been lights out, no doubt about it. He's been one of the workhorses in this Mets pitching staff this season, and a total different thing from last season to this season. Last year, we know he was hurt the first 3-4 months of the season, only pitching 53 innings. And that could be another thing as well that he might tire out coming up is Carrasco. After last season, he didn't pitch much. So right now, the last few weeks here for him, one of the best pitchers in fantasy baseball as well. 20 and a third, 3-0 record, 15 hits, 5 runs, 4 walks, 22 strikeouts, 3 quality starts, and in the month of 1.44 ERA and a 1.09 whip. So right now, he's going out there. Like I mentioned, he's been a workhorse for the Met team. I don't think he's missed the start all season as Carrasco, and he's playing good baseball. But also what's helped him versus weak hitting teams, especially the last 2 out of 3 outings, Miami, Atlanta, and Cincinnati. July 30th at the Marlins, 7 2/3, got the win. 4 hits, 2 walks, 7 Ks, a quality start. August 4th versus the Braves, 6 innings, got the win. 4 hits, 3 runs, a walk, 6 Ks, a quality start. And August 9th versus the Reds, yesterday's ball game, 6 2/3, got the win. 7 hits, 2 runs, a walk, 9 Ks, a quality start. So he's got 3 quality starts in a row. But he's also a guy that could go the other way here, is Carlos Carrasco, where you just don't know where you're going to get game from him. But right now, the last month of the season, he's been great, no doubt about it. And now this is where you sell him high, because I don't think he's going to peak out any better than this, especially with a 1.44 ERA here over the last month. And like I mentioned, this Met team is playing so good, they're due to cool down just a little bit. And I think Carrasco, his numbers will come back down to earth. So right now, if you could get a nice bat in a deal for him before the deadline approaches in fantasy leagues, this would be the time to do it. The next guy, Hendriks of the Chicago White Sox. So Hendriks, it hasn't been that good of a year for him, but over the last few weeks, he's turned it around a little. On the season, 38 2/3, 2-3 record, 23 saves, 31 hits, 14 runs, 9 walks, 57 Ks, 3 blown saves, 3.26 ERA, and a 1.03 whip. But over the last few weeks here for Hendriks, he's pitching pretty good. 5 innings, 1-0 record, 3 hits, a run, 8 Ks, 1.80 ERA, and a 0.60 whip. So right here, I'm not a big fan of closers. And Hendriks, he's been too up and down this season as well. So right now, while he's getting it going a little bit, and probably pitching the best baseball he's pitched all seasons, Hendriks. This would be a time to sell him off. And I think if you could get a decent fourth or fifth starter in a deal for him on your fantasy roster, this would be the time to do it. Close is a crapshoot for the most part, unless you have an elite guy who's on a good team that's going to get 2 or 3 saves per week. But everything besides that, these guys are a dime a dozen. So if I could get a decent hitter or pitcher in a deal for a closer who's been mediocre this season, this would be the time to do it, because Hendriks, like I mentioned, he hasn't been that good this season. Last season, he was way better for fantasy owners. And this year, he's just not going to reach those numbers. So right now, while he's playing good, he's a perfect sell-high candidate. This week, the next guy, Eric Lohr of the Milwaukee Brewers. So Lohr, it's been a pretty decent season here for him. But I worry about him tiring out. After last season, he pitched 118 innings. And now he's at already 112 and 2/3, 8-3 record, 97 hits, 45 runs, 40 walks, 111 strikeouts, 9 quality starts, a 3.59 ERA, a 1.22 whip. And over the last few weeks here, he's pitched real good. 12 innings, 2-0, 10 hits, 2 runs, 6 walks, 8 Ks, a 1.50 ERA, and a 1.33 whip. So Eric Lohr, he's on a pretty solid team over there in Milwaukee. I know their division in the Central, besides the Cardinals, is very weak with bad ball clubs in that division. With the Chicago Cubs, we know they're having a bad season. The Pittsburgh Pirates, one of the worst teams once again in the league here. So right here, he's had pretty good matchups this season, is Eric Lohr. And also the Reds, one of the worst teams as well. So that Central's a weak division, and he's definitely taking advantage of it. But right here, with his innings coming up, Eric Lohr, I think he's going to hit the wall a little bit, and we saw him in June struggle a little bit, but now he's got back on track recently. July 24th versus the Rockies, 4 1/3 though. 6 hits, 4 runs, 3 walks, 3 Ks. July 30th at Boston, 5 innings, got the win. 4 hits, a run, 3 walks, 4 Ks. And then August 5th versus the Reds, 7 innings, got the win. 6 hits, a run, 3 walks, 4 Ks, a quality starts. Lohr, he don't really go deep into games. Only 3 quality starts for him since June 17th here, which obviously isn't a good number. He's had about 8 or 9 starts in that time, is Lohr. I know he plays in a weak division, which obviously is good for his fantasy value right now. But right now, I just don't think he's going to finish the season strong. And he's an up-and-down type of pitcher, even though I know a lot of pitchers are like that nowadays. And not a lot of guys are solid, and you know you're going to get 6 or 7 solid innings out of him. But right now, Eric Lohr, since he's pitching better and he's got out of his slump a little bit, this would be a perfect time to sell him, because he's going to have some tougher matchups coming up, including August 12th versus the St. Louis Cardinals. So right now, while he's getting it going over the last few starts here, this is a perfect time to sell him off. And the final pitcher I look to sell and trade this week, Dylan Cease of the Chicago White Sox. So he's having an amazing season, is Dylan Cease here. But he's another guy who don't really go that deep into games, believe it or not, here, Cease. I know everything else is great this season, but the only way I would trade him if I could get a haul for him, and obviously we know he's legit this season, but I don't know if these numbers are still going to hold up at this pace. 122 1/3, 12-4 record, 89 hits, 27 runs, 53 walks, 166 strikeouts, 10 quality starts, a 1.98 ERA, and a 1.16 whip. And over the last month of the season, he's totally been lights out. 30 2/3, 5-0 record, 19 hits, 2 runs, 10 walks, 33 Ks, 4 quality starts, a 0.59 ERA, and a 0.95 whip. So Dylan Cease, he's been one of the best pitchers all season in fantasy baseball. And I think you could get a great hitter and a solid pitcher in a deal for him. I know he pitches in a very weak division in the AL Central. And there's just a lot of bad teams overall in baseball this season. There's not many great teams, except maybe 8 to 10 teams, I would say, are legit title contenders, if that, at all this season. So July 24th versus Cleveland, 6 innings, got the win. 7 hits, no runs, a walk, 4 Ks, a quality start. July 31st versus Oakland, 6 innings, got the win. 4 hits, a run, a walk, 7 Ks, a quality start. And August 5th at Texas, 6 innings, got the win. 2 hits, a run, 3 walks, 5 Ks, a quality start. So right here, Dylan Cease, the last time he's really versed a good ball club was July 17th in Minnesota, and they're not even that great of a ball team. Right here, this AL Central's a weak division, and that's got a lot to do with it and the American League in general. Besides the Astros and Yankees, there's not crazy great teams this season in the American League, in my opinion. So right here, Dylan Cease, he's taking advantage of it. And the only way I would trade him if I could get a good package for him. And you should. This guy's ranked number 12 this season in fantasy baseball. And he's pitching great baseball. So that's a few pitchers I look to sell and trade here right before the trade deadline here in Week 17 of the fantasy baseball season.